In this episode of Your Daily Detroit, we remember someone special to Detroit's culinary community. I am Jer Stays. It is Monday, March 11th, 2024. Maxcel Hardy, chef, community advocate, restaurateur, unexpectedly passed away a week ago at the age of 40. It shook the local culinary community, in part because of Hardy's huge presence. If you're a diner, you might know Coop, a Caribbean restaurant in the Detroit Shipping Company, a franchise location of Jed's, or what is the now shuttered River Bistro in Grandmont, Rosedale. And he apparently had plans for much more to open. Giving back was important, too. Whether it was working with high school students or, as Eater Detroit reports, the Too Many Cooks in the Kitchen for Good initiative back in 2020. Before he was named one of the top 16 black chefs in America by the New York Times, we had a conversation with Chef Max Hardy on Daily Detroit back in 2018. It's why I'm not sharing more of his background. I'd rather use his words. And a lot has changed in the 6 years since that was recorded in Detroit, and around here too. One thing to note is this conversation is not with me. It is with Sven Gustafson, my friend and former co-host who moved on during the pandemic to far bigger and better things in public relations and content for a physicians group. And it was recorded back when we were at the Detroit Shipping Company ourselves. Now that still stands today, but the studio that was, the company we work with is gone. One of the founders passed during COVID. The old studio is now a flower shop. So without further ado, our conversation with Chef Maxcel Hardy from 2018.
We are joined now by special guest Chef Max Hardy. He just opened Coop Caribbean Fusion here in the Detroit Shipping Company. He's also the owner of River Bistro out on Grand River in Northwest Detroit. Chef Max, thanks for coming on. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to meet you, and excited to talk with you. You have, you're part of, I don't know, a growing number, I guess, I don't know how many, but of culinary talents who have come back to Detroit.
Yep.
You spent 2 decades in Miami and New York City, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I left Detroit when I was 12 and moved down to Florida where I finished high school and went off to culinary school and, started Chef Max Miami and cooking for different celebrities and athletes all over the country, and then spent a little time in New York as well. But yeah, no, so it's good to be back home.
Yeah. I mean, you've been home for a while now. It's not like a new thing for you. You've had time to open two different restaurants. What drew you back to your hometown?
About 2 years ago, I came home and did a series called Detroit Grown and Made with Davita from Detroit Food Lab, where we went around to different urban farms and put on these dinners, 5-course dinner right in the heart of the farm.
Using their produce and everything.
Yep. And then just everything that's specialized from Detroit, the farms, and then locally grown produce and poultry and so forth. And it really sold out every time. And we put them up online and it went in 12 hours. I'm like, wow, that's kind of crazy. So we did 3 of them and it sold out back to back. And then I did a few things with Peter at Revolver, where I came in and did a few dinners at Revolver, and that went really good. So I was like, wow, maybe Detroit is really starting to have a emerging food scene. And so that kind of what sparked my interest. And then New York, I was kind of burnt out of being in New York, doing that high level, running around with Amari and the Knicks for 5 years. It really
so you were traveling on the road with them and everything too.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So after I got done with that, I was like, all right, let's figure out what the next move is. And so Detroit, here I came.
Having been in those other two cities, how do you compare Detroit's, restaurant dining scene with places like Miami and New York?
Well, it's a little different, because I think, Detroit's always been known as a kind of meat and potatoes kind of town, and, really wasn't anything we hung our hat on as, culinary wise. Had good food, but you didn't see, these emerging chefs and, talented chefs moving back to the city, and you didn't see these, signature restaurants popping up. So I think it's a little different, than Miami or New York. I think New York is, the food mecca, one of them at least. And there's so many restaurants on every corner, every different cuisine you can imagine. And there's a melting pot of different, chefs and cuisines and so forth. But Miami is just wide open, because you have so many different ethnic backgrounds and, have a big West Indies push down there. And so it's totally different between Miami and New York. But I think Detroit is, is coming. Mm-hmm. So many cool chefs has moved back and, has come into the city. And then so many of the chefs that's already here are starting to get their shine and get their due, and get opportunities to open restaurants and so forth. So I think in the next 2-3 years, I think Detroit definitely will be known as one of those food cities.
Both at Coop, the new place here in the shipping company, and at River Bistro, a big focus is Caribbean food and ingredients and everything. Is that something that you picked up in Miami, or where'd you kind of?
Yeah, so that's a little bit of it. My mom's from Bahamas, and so just eating Bahamian food every day. And when I was growing up, it's kind of always been true and near and dear to me. And then being in Miami, man, all my cooks were either Haitian, Puerto Rican, Dominicans, or from Jamaica, Bahamas. So a lot of that West Indies kind of, fusion, Caribbean fusion kind of came to my cooking style. And then when I got to Detroit, I'm like, well, there's a shortage of Caribbean restaurants,
yes.
of that caliber. So I wanted to, bring a different look and different feel, but paying homage to all the islands. Cause you think of everyone coming to River Bistro, or even here, they think, like Coop, is it Jamaican, and I'm like, well, it's 500 islands and just the Bahamas alone. So there's other islands other than Jamaica. So Coop is like really playing with a lot of different islands. You got a little Trini, you got a little Cuban, you got a little Haitian, you got a little Jamaican, you got a little Bahamas in there. So we're like having a little fun with all those different islands. So
I'm, for one, excited about it. I've been to Jamaica. I love Jamaican food. And for a long time, I've been decrying, like, man, we need some more. I know there's a couple places in town, but we need like more of this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Town,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. You recently opened Coop, and you just talked a little bit about that. And congratulations on getting that place open. That was originally supposed to be your first.
Yeah, that was probably the first one. That we've been working on that project for. I developed the concept 4 years ago, and then when I got the call from Shipyard, I was like, all right, let's put it on the table. And so, but yeah, that's supposed to be the first one.
Mm-hmm. So it's strictly counter service. But how's it going so far? I mean, you're still in kind of soft open phase, right?
Yeah, our menu is pretty much fully rocking. We got 1 or 2 dishes that we still kind of trying to tweak. The kitchen's so small, but we're pumping out a great product at that small kitchen.
You doing it all here?
Yeah, pretty much here. And then we use Bistro as a second commissary as well to kind of help out with that. But we're humping out of there, man.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of River Bistro, you recently announced that you're going to discontinue weekday restaurant service there.
Yep.
What tell us about that? Why did you decide that?
I think, just in that area, we opened River Bistro to be, just for the community. I grew up right there, close to that area. So I wanted to put, a nice casual sit down restaurant in that area. We still do 85% more takeout than sit down service. Mm-hmm. And then we have a private dining room in the back. But I wanted to give something, different and a nice little flair and look. And just over the last 8 months and 9 months now, we have some great success, but I think our weekend business is better. Mm-hmm. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we do, pretty good numbers. Mm-hmm. And then Monday through Thursday is a little slower. So I figured, let's take those days and regroup and, maybe open up to, some up and coming chefs that need a kitchen to kind of work on their product and test their concept.
So like pop up almost kind of?
Yep. So we're working on that programming to do some pop up dinners. And it gives me an opportunity to really focus on, say, hey, I want to, do a dinner for 25 people, a wine dinner of some sort, where I can really focus on that and, not have to worry about day-to-day service, and then also trying to do this pop-up or also trying to do this catering. So it just allows me a little flexibility to do a few different things, and then changing the business model to make it make sense financially as well. So,
yeah. So does it suggest that when you're talking about an outside of the city core, it's a little bit difficult still to draw weekday dining crowds?
Yeah, because that area I think is still developing. It's has a good disposable income in Rosedale Park, but it's it's happening more and more each day. You got Vegan Soul over there now. You have us that's open. So I think as the community changes, we'll get busier. And we might be able to get back to that day-to-day service during the week. So that's the plan,
You've been outspoken about kind of the underrepresentation of Black people in Detroit's restaurant scene and wanting to, do more to provide opportunities, which you talked a little bit about with River Bistro, certainly. Are you seeing any progress on that front?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's still a working in progress. I think, one of the things that's important is for us to be able to see chefs of a certain caliber. I think when you think of chefs, it was never thought to be a chef. It was like, I can cook and I'm a good cook, but you don't really see them in the forefront of the restaurant. Or so I think now as you start to see, more African American chefs, being present, And social media is like kind of really helping that. I think, you'll see a lot more. And then for me, it's just always important to push. And so that's why I do so much within the community on visual, so you can see what a chef looks like and actually, really get to kick it with me. So I think it's starting to happen, as we continue. I think it'll, keep developing. And then we're working with Clear University. To, start some of that change and train some kids to get to that next level. So,
what are you doing with Cleary?
Yeah. So I'm going to be the resident chef.
Okay.
So I'll be teaching some classes, helping them, get their enrollment numbers up as well. And just doing some cool programming within, the university.
And I think Cleary has different campuses, right? Is this just at one of the campuses?
No, this is a culinary campus.
Okay.
And they're going to have some hospitality.
Which is here in Detroit?
Yep, it's on Woodward.
Okay.
And so we'll be partnering with them and getting that rolling starting the 1st of August. So.
Oh,
yeah.
That's very cool. Okay. And then you've also talked in the past about wanting to open your own cooking school. Is that still kind of in the cards at all?
Yeah, no, I mean, we're still working on that. We're working with Bright Off culinary program as well to kind of help get their program up and running. But my goal is to definitely, one day have our own culinary school. I bought 4 lots on a block I grew up on. So we're going to do this urban farm, and one of the houses we're going to turn into like a culinary center.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. And so.
And this is out in Northwest Detroit.
Yep. So we'll start with that and, start small and then keep working our way up, but I think with Cleary and then being a part of Bright Off, I think, we can get to some of the same, goals that I wanted to get to with having a culinary school. So, no need to reinvent the wheel if I can tag team with some other guys to really, make it better.
Yeah, that's great. You had at one point talked about 3 restaurants in Detroit.
Yep.
Is there still a third one?
Yeah. So, Honey is still working. We're just waiting on, to see how.
That's the name of it, Honey.
Honey. Yep. It's going to be African fusion. So we're waiting to see how that project, unrolls in here in the next 8 months or so.
Okay.
So that's going to be right outside the new arena.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we're just waiting on
the new Little Caesars arena.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And then we got a few other projects that we're
as part of it, or in the kind of Detroit district.
In the district.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we got 2 other projects that we're working with in conjunction with a few other restaurateurs out there. So I guess in the next year you'll see a few other Chef Max ventures kind of happening. So it'll be fun.
Ah, good news.
Keep me busy.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So let's a couple things I wanted to ask you, going back to the past, going back in the time machine here. You appeared on the Food Network TV show Chopped.
Yep.
Tell us about that. What year was that?
That was 2016.
Okay. So I missed that episode. I watch that from time to time. I stream them nowadays. I don't have cable.
It's season 12, episode 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Season 12, episode 8. How far did you make it, and what was that experience like?
Made it to the final. It was really fun. It came up some really cool competition. Couple great chefs. From one from LA, one from Vegas, and then one from Nashville. So it was really fun. When you see the show, like you see that basket, you're like, oh, does it really take that much time? It really takes that much time. So when you see it, I see it. And the ingredients were really crazy for us. We had pickles pig feet, butter beans, and coleslaw mix, and sweet potato french fries. And so we had to come up with something. So I did I think a curry pig feet cassoulet and a Caribbean slaw, and I rehydrated the fries and did a crumble on top. So yeah, and it was fun.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty intense experience, though, I'd imagine.
Yeah. It was pretty intense. And then we had some tough judges. Marcus Samuelson was one of them. So yeah, it was fun.
Anything that happened on that show that people don't realize,
Yeah. What happened to me midway through the last round, I cut my finger. I put the chef knife under the cutting board, and I picked the cutting board up and the knife at the same time, and the knife slipped out and nicked me. And so I kind of went under the table and bandaged it up really quick before the cameras can really see it, because you ever see it on Chop when they get cut, you kind of get disqualified from that because they can't eat anything. So
sure.
No one knew I cut myself until
were you bleeding too?
No, and I mean, a little bit, but I caught it and I put a glove on in time before the cameras could catch it. So but yeah, no, that was fun.
You have also been, a chef, private chef to celebrities. We mentioned Amari Stoudemire earlier. Missy Elliott, I think you've cooked for too.
Yep, we did some stuff for Missy when I was at Williams Island Country Club. He had Prince of Dubai, Fabulous, T.I., you name it, we kind of touched them.
Any like crazy stories about like weird requests from any of them? I mean, you can preserve their anonymity.
Right. Yeah, I mean, one client, I always tell this story. It was Halloween. I got a call, say, Chef, we went to a Halloween party, and so I'm like, all right, whatever. Casino kind of theme. But they asked me to get some naked girls and lay them out on a table and put sushi on them. And so we did. We had this royal table, a 20-foot table that I had 3 ladies laid out with sushi on them. And the homeowner got wind of it mid-party, and so she came and shut it down. And the guy lost his $50,000 deposit.
Ouch.
And got kicked out of the house for the whole week. So it was really crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. I also read a interesting story on Grandmont Rosedale, community development site or something like that about your first experience making matzo ball soup for a rabbi.
Yeah. That was my first executive chef position.
Yeah, you were young way back then.
I was 20.
I mean, you're still a fairly young guy.
I was 20 then. And I saw an ad for executive chef of a catering company. So I went to the interview, and I've never cooked, anything Jewish ever before. We get there, and he's like, "Hey, chef, you go in the kitchen and do a mystery basket of stuff and just send some stuff out." There's 4 rabbis. They're all sitting around.
Trial by fire.
Yeah, no, and it's crazy because I walked in there, they're drinking Absolute and, hanging out and kicking it. And so I'm like, the rabbi's drinking that? I'm like, all right, cool. So I go in the kitchen and I cook, and he said, one of the things you have to make for us is matzo ball soup. So I've had matzo ball soup before, but I never actually made matzo balls. So I took the chicken, threw them in. On my mirror pot, got the soup going. The soup was really great. And, time for me to make these matzo balls. So I'm like, how in the hell do you make these matzo balls? Like, I'm like, all right, well, they got to be like hush puppies, like, but less dense. So I took the matzo and added some eggs, added some club soda. I added a little chicken stock, and I rolled them out and dropped them in the soup and let it, just boil. And to me, I was like, well, they're a little too hard. So I started over again, and I added a little more seltzer to it. And I took the egg whites and folded them in versus whipping all the eggs together. Okay. And so it made a little area and bigger. Took it out there. He put his hand in the soup and grabbed the matzo ball, and he threw it against the wall, and it splattered. He was like, "That's a good matzo ball." So I was like, all right, my first time ever making it. It was crazy, yeah. So I got hired. And I was a chef there for a year. Unfortunately, when the hurricane came that year, it messed up the synagogue and catering kitchen. So I kept on pushing. Yeah.
All right. So we mentioned earlier you've got Coop Caribbean Fusion open now in the shipping container. What's good on the menu? I had the guava barbecue chicken wings. Those were really tasty, and the Caribbean corn.
I mean, I try to stay away from all of it, but it's because it's all good. I guess the Brussels sprouts is one of my favorites. Caribbean corn is a fave. The mac and cheese is really kick ass.
Yeah, what do you do with the mac and cheese?
So we make a bechamel, and we add garlic and cilantro, and then we do a bacon jam and breadcrumbs on top. Wow! And so it kind of gives you that nice creamy but nice little bite as well. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. Everything's good there, man. I mean, it's really a cool little menu, a real fun kind of concept. So yeah, come on down and taste all the good stuff we got.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Chef Max, has been great talking with you, and best of luck with all your plans, man. You got a lot of ambitious plans.
Yeah, no, we're rocking, man. They're keeping me busy nonstop.
Thanks so much for listening to Your Daily Detroit. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll talk tomorrow.